Hi, in this lesson, we're going to go through interactions adapting to the environment. This is the lesson. So I'm going to go through the mind map of adaptations first, because it's a huge topic, all right? It's an absolutely huge topic, and I want you to have an understanding of what adaptations will cover. And then after that, at the end of the lesson, we will come back to this mind map, and then you will know the information better. So just some quick notes. There's no need to memorize this mind map. It's not going to come out in your exams. However, you do need to remember the examples that I'm going to give you, because those examples will be coming out in exam questions. Most specifically, I want you to remember seed dispersals. You need to recognize the different ways of seed dispersals based on where the young plants are located. This question will come out very often in the examinations. Alright, let's take a look at the mind map. So the first thing we need to know is adaptations. Alright, so there are two kinds of adaptations. One of them is the structural adaptations, and the other one is behavioral adaptations. So these are the two kinds, and you need to know the definition. So I'm going to test you later on the definitions. So behavioral means special ways an organism behave. All right. So it's very important. It's the action that the organism does that determines it is behavioral. All right. So physical characteristics. These are structural adaptations. They are physical characteristics of an organism. And you can see the webbed feet. You can see the webbed feet of a duckling, all right, over here. So these are the webbed feet. These are the webbings. And this is what the duckling or the duck actually is. All right, there's nothing the duck can do to create webbed feet. This is what they have. And therefore, these are structural adaptations to swim faster, all right, to help the duck swim faster. So duck has webbed feet to help it move faster in water. So here are some more structural adaptations. If you look at the different kinds of birds, they all have different beaks, all right. Different birds have different beaks, and these beaks will help them to eat the kind of food that, or the to help them survive better in the environment or the habitat they survive in. Okay, so for example, let's say an eagle eats meat, and therefore they have this hooked beak to catch onto the meat better. A woodpecker will create a hole in the tree, and therefore he has this sharp beak to penetrate the tree. Parrot eats seeds, and therefore he has this hooked bottom jaw and a hooked top part of the beak to also eat the seeds, and so on and so forth. So you can imagine a kiwi will eat something that's very deep inside. All right, pelican will eat fishes. So the idea is that different birds eat different things. They live in different habitats, and therefore they have structural adaptations to help them live in that habitat. All right, they all look different, and this is what they are. All right, this is what the birds are, and that's why it's considered structural adaptation. So let's look at another example. The fur on a bear protects it in cold weather. The air is trapped in the feathers or the fur, and it insulates the bear against the cold. So all this fur, all right, there is air. There's air in between all this fur. There's air, and air is a good insulator. So that's how it keeps the bear warm during cold weather. Another example, the rabbit's fur change color according to the seasons to provide camouflage that protect it from predators. So this is white fur, which is a good camouflage against the snow. All right, you can hardly see the rabbit against the white snow. So again, this is what the rabbit is. All right, this is the rabbit cannot do anything to make the fur white. A rabbit has white fur, and therefore it is a structural adaptation. So lizards have sticky feet to climb walls. So again, sticky feet is what the lizard is. Alright, so it is a structural adaptation. They have slim and soft bodies to squeeze into small places, and the tail can drop off and regrow to scare predators or little children who is trying to catch the lizard. Alright, so all these things that the tail can drop off and regrow are all under structural adaptations, because it's what the lizard is and it's not something that they can do. So octopus can camouflage and wait for prey. So if you look at it, this is the octopus. Right, it's well camouflaged against the rocks, and they can wait for prey or hide from predators, and it has suckers in the tentacles to catch hold of the prey and prevent them from escaping. So if this is the tentacles, alright, there's a lot of circular thing here called suckers, and these suckers will suck on the prey and hold on to it so that they cannot escape. Let's look at another kind, adaptations for living in cold and hot environment. Alright, so squirrels, so some animals will hibernate during winter to conserve energy and survive through the cold months. So these are what I call hibernating. Hibernating simply means that the animal will sleep. The animal will sleep throughout winter time. Alright, and they do this, they sleep because when they're sleeping they use less energy, and that's how they conserve energy. Alright, let's look at this, which is this is hot weather. Alright, so this is a picture of a camel, and camels sweat and urinate very little to conserve water. Alright, so they don't urinate a lot. And the humps, this is the hump of a camel. Alright, the humps store fat. It's not water. The camel humps store fat to reduce the insulating effects of fats if stored around the body. So what happens is that the fats of the camel is all stored at the hump, so that the body will not have so much fat, and because fat is insulating, alright, it'll keep the camel hot, and then the camel will die in the desert. So what happens is the fat all goes to the hump, so the camel doesn't have a lot of fat in its body, and that will make it it will lose heat more easily during the hot weather. Okay, another adaptation is for breathing underwater. So there's a mosquito larva, alright, and these are what I call breathing tubes. This is also another breathing tubes. So mosquito larvae breathe in oxygen from the air. They breathe through air tubes which extend from their bodies and stick out above the water surface. So these are the air tubes, or you can call them the breathing tubes. So that's a giant water bug, and that's a mosquito larva. So frogs and salamanders, stay underwater by breathing through their moist skin. Alright, so if you look at the frog, it has moist skin, as well as salamanders, and that's how they breathe underwater. Okay, so fish, dragonfly, nymph, shrimps, or also known as prawns and tadpoles, breathe through gills. So these are the gills of a fish, and if you look at the gills of a fish, there's a lot of these small little things coming out, which increases the surface area of the gills, so that they can absorb oxygen, dissolved oxygen from the water. Alright, so all the water will pass through the gills like this. It will go in through the mouth and they will come out through the gills, and then the gills will absorb the dissolved oxygen. Another adaptation that animals or insects can do is to use air bubbles. Alright, and this is the air bubble. So they bring the air bubble down with them. Water beetle breathing using an air bubble. So this is the air bubble that the water beetle used to breathe, and a water spider diving by using an air bubble to breathe. Alright, so this is the spider, and this entire thing is the air bubble. So these insects can carry their own air supply and dive into the water to hunt for food. Another thing are these special nostrils that some mammals have. So dugongs close their nostrils. So if you look at this, right, this is a nostril that is closed. Alright, so use a darker pen. Okay, so these two things are closed nostril. Okay, seals also have the same thing. So seals have, if you look at this, these are open nostrils, breathing above ground, and closed nostril. Can you see they squeeze their nostril together when they are breathing in water? So you have also blowholes, because whales and dolphins are mammals. They breathe through their lungs, and therefore they need blowholes to help them breathe underwater. So how does that look like? This is a whale breathing air out of the blowhole. This is the blowhole over here, and you have the water spray over here. So it looks like water spray. This is the blowhole without spraying water. So this is how it looks like without spraying water. So dolphins also breathe underwater from their blowholes. So this is the blowhole of a dolphin. So now let's talk about adaptations for moving in water. Alright, so for fishes, there's the streamlined body shape of fish. So this is the beginning, which is narrow. Alright, so this is a shark, if you don't realize. This is a shark. There's a narrow front with a broad middle and also a narrow end. Alright, so narrow ends, which is the front and the back, with a broad middle, and this is streamlined so that the fish can push itself through the water easily. So this is another example. This is a tuna, and there's a streamlined body. Again, you see the narrow ends. Alright, and there's a large forked tail. Lateral line, you don't have to care about this, and also small smooth scales to help it move in water. So what a streamlined body shape is you have streamlines, and then if this is a very big shape, there will be a big disturbance in the water, and therefore it moves slower. But a streamlined body shape like this, right, will create small disturbance and it will move faster. Okay. For this part, it is not going to be tested, so it's just for your general knowledge, so you don't have to remember this. Okay, special body parts that help animals to move in water. So again, duck with webbed feet, we went through this. So this part is the webbing. If you look at your own fingers, you don't see this webbing in between your fingers because we are not adapted to move fast in water. Okay, another one, platypus with webbed feet. Over here, you can see the webbing as well on the hands and on the feet. Next one, Atlantic puffin with webbed feet. Over here, you can see the webbing on the feet. Alright, so all this webbing helps them to move faster in water. Last one is the webbed crocodile feet. So if you look at here, you can see the webbing on the crocodile feet as well to help it to move faster. Okay, so special body parts. You have the fins and the flippers. So these are all the fins of a fish. Alright, you don't have to know the names. I just put it here for your reference, but there are many fins. So fish fins help it to keep its balance and move in water. So when they flip their fins, then they will push themselves through the water. So you have the fins of a fighting fish. So there's the dorsal fin, the pectoral, the ventral, the anal, and the caudal. But you don't have to know all these names. Flippers of seal help to propel it through the water. So these are the flippers of the seal. Alright, these are the flippers of the seal. and when they push it back, the seal will help the seal to move in front. So these are special body parts, fins and flippers, that help the fish to move. So another one, adaptations to help animals move in the air. So you have birds have wings, so these are wings, alright, these are wings that they can flap and help them to move in the air. So bats are quite interesting. They are actually mammals that have wings to help it fly. Alright, the wings are not made of feathers, but instead it's stretched skin over very long bones. So if you look at this, right, this is a bone. So all these things are bones. Alright, so these are long bones, and this part is the stretched skin. Alright, so this part is the stretched skin, and that's what the bat's wings are made up of. So generally birds have feathers. All these are their feathers, and their feathers over here, especially in their wings, their feathers will help it to fly, right, because they are light. So let's talk about another adaptation for living in dark environments. So owls have large iris. So this is the large iris of the owl. So if you compare the owl's iris and you look at your own iris, right, it's much larger, because these iris will control the amount of light that enters the eye, right? So the bigger it is, the relationship is the bigger the iris, comma, the more light can enter the eye, and therefore then you can see better at night. Alright, so that's how an owl sees better at night, because it has very large iris. So now let's look at plants. Plants have adaptations to obtain sunlight. Alright, so trees will grow very tall in order to obtain more sunlight. Okay, so again, why do they want to obtain more sunlight? So that they can make more food, and they make more food through the process of photosynthesis. Alright, so they have this competition to grow as high as possible, to get as much sunlight as possible. So other kinds of plants, like this climbing plant over here, alright, this whole climbing plant here, they will use support such as walls and fences to get higher, to get more sunlight. So generally plants want to get higher, and if possible higher than other plants, so that they can get more sunlight, to get more food, to make more food, and also to make more fruits and seeds, and so that they can reproduce more. So let's look at another group of plants, adaptations to obtain sunlight by aquatic plants. Alright, so these are plants that live in water. So the water plants. So plants like to be near the water surface to get more sunlight. The deeper the water, the less the sunlight. So let's say this is a pond, alright, and we have a sun over here. There's water over here. So this part, alright, this part will have more sunlight. Okay, and then this part will have the least sunlight. Alright, so the deeper you go, the lesser sunlight the pond will get through. So let's look at the water lily. Alright, so the water lily has waxy leaves, so the water will run off the leaves, so the water will run off and it will not weigh it down to make it sink into the water. Alright, so that's how the water lily will float in the water. Likewise, a floating water hyacinth. Alright, so these are the flowers. These are the flowers, and these are the leaves, and these are the swollen stalks or stems. Alright, so if you look under, if you cut the swollen stems, right, you can actually see the spongy leaf stalk of a water hyacinth. So all these little holes here are filled with air. Alright, and you can see the microscopic view of it. So all these holes here are all air, all right, and this air will help the water hyacinth to float. And again, all these plants like to float because at the top of the pond, so this is a pond, all right, so when you have plants over here, the sun is over here, the plants on top will get more sunlight than the plants at the bottom. Okay, so that's why all these plants like to float. Now let's look at the adaptations for catching prey by predators. Alright, so remember, predators catch prey. So these adaptations I want to talk about are strong claws and jaws. Let's take a look. A lion is trying to catch a bull. A lion needs strong claws to hold onto its prey. So they have strong claws over here, and these are very muscular, alright, and strong, so that they can catch and hold on to the prey. A lion also needs strong jaws to tear meat off its prey and also to bite and kill the prey. So if you look at this, they have very strong jaws with very sharp teeth in order to bite the animals. An eagle has strong claws to catch prey. So if you look at this, they have very strong claws over here. They have very strong claws, alright, here, alright. And this is a fish that they must catch. So if you have ever handled a fish before, with the scales on, you will know that a fish is very slippery. And often if we use our hands, the fish will slide away or it will drop. So imagine the fish is still alive and it's trying to struggle. So you really need very strong claws in order to catch the fish. So in this case, a lizard has a sticky tongue to catch insects. So if you look carefully, this is the long and sticky tongue, and this is the insect that it is trying to catch. So it's very long and sticky, and insect will get stuck onto it. Another kind of adaptation to move fast is that hawks and cheetahs can move fast to catch their prey. So this is a cheetah that is chasing a deer, alright. So this deer is actually moving very fast already, and the cheetah must be even faster. So this is a hawk. It is diving to catch fishes. So it's also is moving very fast. So now we're going to talk about predators that camouflage in order to catch their prey. So a leopard hides in the tall grass to avoid being seen by the prey. So if you look at this, right, this is the shape of the leopard, alright, and it is very difficult to see if you're looking at it from far away, and therefore it will wait for the prey to come near it, and then it will jump out and catch the prey. So Arctic fox in the summer and winter, note the change in color of their fur to help them camouflage against the background. So this has got white fur during winter to camouflage against the snowy background, and this has got brown fur in summer to help them camouflage against the grass and the trees. So the next adaptation we're going to talk about is catching prey using traps and venoms. So spider webs trap insects that the spiders will eat. So they will build this kind of spider webs, and the spider will be in the middle, alright. And when the insect comes here, then they will shake the web, and then the spider will know, and then the spider will come and eat the insect. So the other situation is when venomous snakes use its venom to kill prey. So this has got venom, and they will bite the animal or the prey, and it will kill them using the venom. So even humans also will die if we are bitten by very venomous snakes. So now we're going to look at the adaptations for protecting against predators. So these are from the prey's point of view. What adaptations do they have to protect them against predators? Alright, so here are some of the options. They have scales, they have shells, they have spines to protect against predators. They have poison, they appear bigger, and they have camouflage. I'll take a quick detour to talk about the difference between venom and poison. Alright, so venom is something that, so venom and poison both describe the same thing, which is some kind of toxin which is bad for a organism. But for venom is that if it bites you, then you die. Alright, so you have venomous snakes like cobras or black mambas or whatever. So these are all venomous snakes where if it bites you, you die. Poisonous is when you bite it. If you bite it and you die, it is poisonous. So you have things like poisonous mushrooms, you have things like poisonous insects, you have things like poisonous frogs, where if you bite it and you try to eat it, then you will die. Alright, so I repeat again, venom is when it bites you and you die. Right, so you have things like cobras and snakes and even venomous spiders where it bites you and you get bad. If it's poisonous, then you bite it and you die. So let's look at having scales, shells, and spines. So armadillos are mammals that have a hard shell to protect it against predators. So this is the hard shell of a armadillo. So if you are a lion or a tiger, you try to bite it, then you're going to have a bad time. So snails also have hard shells to protect it. Alright, so this is commonly known as their home. So this is the shell. And hermit crabs borrow a shell as protection. So this snail shell actually belongs to the snail, is part of the snail. But for a hermit crab, this shell is not part of a hermit crab. It actually borrows the shell from a seed from somewhere else to use it to be their house. So when it outgrows this shell, right, when it grows bigger than the shell, it needs to find a new shell. And pangolins also have hard shell or hard scales to protect it. Alright, so these are all the hard scales that the pangolin has. Next, we are looking at having spikes. So a porcupine has spikes that protect it against predators. So these are the porcupine spikes, and if you are a predator, you try to eat it, you're going to realize that your whole face will be full of spikes. Likewise, a hedgehog has sharp spikes to protect it against predators. So these are also the sharp spikes of a hedgehog. So another way to avoid predators is to appear bigger. So this is the normal size of a puffer fish. Doesn't look very big. But then when the puffer fish sense some kind of danger or predators nearby, it will try to appear bigger than it is. So can you compare the size of this one against the size of this one? Alright, so it's much bigger than what it usually looks like. And another thing is also they have also sharp spikes. Alright, which makes it very difficult to eat them. And because they are so big, it's difficult to eat because the mouth of the predator is not so big. Alright, so it cannot bite them. Alright, so another one that prey use to hide from predators is camouflage to avoid predators. So can you spot the giraffe in this picture? Alright, I give you 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. The giraffe is actually here. Come over here. Alright, so this is the giraffe. It's quite a big animal, but yet it's very well camouflaged. You cannot really see it. Alright, so another one, can you spot the stick insect in this picture? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and this is the stick insect over here. So can you imagine? This is actually an insect which really looks like a stick. So now let's look at adaptations for reproducing and attracting mates. All right, so we're talking about animals over here. These are animals. So they have colorful body coverings and they have a very specific mating behavior. So peacocks use their large tail feathers to attract a peahen. So the bigger the feathers, well, I suppose the peahen will think that the peacock is healthier and more able to reproduce. All right. So likewise, a male frigate bird puffs out its red throat sac. Its red throat sac to attract a female. So this is the red throat sac, and this should be the female. All right, and it's using it to attract female. So these are some colorful body coverings that help the animals to find mates and reproduce. So let's look at some of the plants and how they have some adaptations to also reproduce. So they have adaptations for pollination and adaptations for getting seeds dispersed. So a quick revision first before we jump into pollination. So this is a flower, this is a flower. So the pollination basically means you have the pollen seeds. You have the pollen seeds over here, and somehow these pollen seeds must go to the style of another flower. All right, so a pollen seed from one flower must go to the style of another flower. And there are several ways that flowers have adapted to make this happen. All right, so let's go through some of them. So flowers pollinated by insects are usually colored and fragrant. All right, so these are insects. So what happens is that an insect will come here. All right, so let's say this is a insect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs and 2 feelers. All right, so 6 legs, 2 feelers, 3 body parts will come here, and then the insect will fly, will touch the pollen seeds, and they will fly to another flower, and the pollen seeds from the insect, 1 body part, 2 body part, 3 body part, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 feelers. All right, and the insects will land on this part of the flower, and the pollen seeds will then touch these anther, all right, and it will go down to the filament, and it will go into the ovary and ovules. All right, so that's how pollination works by insects. So flowers pollinated by wind. So flowers pollinated by wind are dull colored and light. So they are dull. So again, flowers pollinated by wind are usually dull colored and light. So the wind will blow the pollen, and the pollen will fly using the wind all the way and land on the flower of on the anther of another flower. So now the plant has pollinated, and it will create fruits with seeds, and now they have to find a way to disperse these seeds so that the children, the young plants, will not fight with the parent plant for air, food, water, space, sunlight, so on and so forth. Okay, so there are many ways that plants can disperse their seeds as well. Let's look at it. So this is a bird is eating a juicy berry. So this is the juicy berry. The seeds of the berry cannot be digested and will be dispersed far from the parent plant through the bird feces. All right. So when the bird ejects the waste through the body and the feces, then the feces also acts as a fertilizer to help the plant germinate. All right. It gives more nutrients to the seeds. So that's where dispersal through animals happen. So another kind of dispersal through animals is squirrels eat and store nuts, which are nuts are actually seeds. When they forget where they store the nuts, or when the squirrels die, then the nuts can grow into new plants if they are stored in a suitable location. All right. So a suitable location is where there is warmth, you need to remember WOW, oxygen, and water. Alright, so these are the three things that are needed for seeds to germinate. So if the squirrel hides them in a place where there are these three characteristics, then they can grow and germinate into new plants. So this is a dandelion, alright, so if you notice there's a lot of feathers at the end of the seeds. So the dandelion seeds are light, so they can be dispersed by the wind. And coconuts have fibrous husks, and these husks contain air, so it can float on water to far away places to disperse its seeds. So there are a lot of questions in exam papers that will ask you, how do the seeds get dispersed? Alright, so let's move on. There are a few more. Another one is dispersal by explosion. So saga seeds and pea pods use an exploding motion to disperse their seeds. So for example, let's say I have a question, and then I will have a river here. Alright, and then there'll be plant A along the river, and let's say the wind direction is here. So plant B is here, and plant C is here. Alright, so you must realize that plant A is dispersed by water, plant B is dispersed by wind, and plant C is dispersed by explosive action. Well, here we're going to talk about plant adaptations to live in hot weather. So that in the desert, the cactus have needle-like leaves, so this reduces the surface area and also water loss. And they have very thick fleshy stems. These are thick fleshy stems that will store water. Alright. Another thing, the roots of the cactus are spread out over a large area over here in order to absorb the most amount of water, or when there's whatever rain that comes.